Hello and welcome back to Grand Prix Prague. I'm Tim Willoughby, joined as always by Matej, Big Z Zadelkai, and you can see us in the feature match area with two very highly ranked pros here. Sam Black, 23rd in the world right now, and 7-2 here in Prague. Both of these players with early drops, but it's only one of them that's going to be able to attack, that being the Nanam Renegade of Pascal Maynard, getting in for a point of death touch damage there. On the other side of things, well, things are looking kind of a little bit different because there it's about getting artifacts into play early. We can see a couple of them implement there coming down for Sam Black. And that suggests to me that he might be working on an improvised plan.
I like improvise in white-black. And I'm a little bit suspicious here already, seeing the cards from Sam's side. But, okay, I get it. There we go. This format is very suitable for Sam. He likes to dirtle around. He's not hesitating, hitting stockpile, sacking that implement of malice. He's going to get a servo and a scry.
Yeah, there's a few interesting things going on that really suit Sam Black well in this format. He has frequently said that he thinks that secretly the most powerful card word in Magic is sacrifice. That if you can find a way of sacrificing things for profit, often you can get a substantial amount of it, and Hidden Stockpile lets you do that in spades. Likewise, when you have your implements, you can get a little bit of added value. Ultimately, we saw Oxider Daredevil discarded by Pascal Maynard there, though. If you're going to have to discard a card, that's a pretty great one to put in the graveyard because it will be coming back.
Yeah, but Pascal doesn't have any more lands. He just kept two forests and then the Renegade with quite a few black cards in his hand. But Sam's already in his comfort zone in a way. I feel, playing his lands, and now he's gonna, swing with a servo. If he has the mana, he can sack it to scry, and Kambal.
And a Renegade map, so that's another thing that's going to get to trigger a revolt nice and easily for him. So with Kambal, Council of Allocation in play, whenever Pascal casts a non-creature spell, that includes vehicles, remember, he's going to lose 2 life and Sam will gain 2 life.
This is disgusting. I think he just drew a Fen Hauler as well, and he already has 3 artifacts in play. That means he could already play it here. Even sacking the Renegade map for land. I wonder if there's any splashes. Of course, Sam Black, like him playing a 2-color deck would be weird in this format. So he goes for a forest here. And
he's got a couple of copies of Dawnfeather Eagle in hand as well, and those are the kind of card that make racing very, very difficult, giving your creatures +1/+1 and vigilance problematic. But here's some improvising. There's Fen Hauler. Can't be blocked by artifact creatures. Can be blocked by that one creature on Pascal Maynard's side of the board, and Universal Solvent is slowly but surely getting up to a point where it's going to be able to destroy a permanent, trigger revolt, and generally just do it all. Already, it's made his Fen Hauler 1 cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, Sam is just popping off here with his hidden stockpile while Pascal is discarding. This is not a beautiful game of any kind, but the board of Sam's is already so big. He can start just jamming those Dawnfeather Eagles and swinging with his team.
Eagle number 1. And Sam just says, yeah, everyone's coming in.
Yeah.
Do your worst.
I mean, Pascal can trade off with the Fen Hauler, which is now a 6/6, but he's still going to be on the receiving end of 7 damage. We know that Sam has another Dawnfeather Eagle in his hand as well, and is on 6 lands, so only 1 land away from the Universal Solvent mana. Plus, if Pascal trades his non-Renegade here, Sam will get another servo token from the hidden stockpile.
Yeah, this is all kinds of messy.
Yeah. And Pascal should be down 12, yeah.
It's 12, and if he casts another Dawnfeather Eagle next turn, that's 4, 10, 13 coming through. So,
yeah. If Pascal has nothing, yeah, he does.
Doesn't even get to see the next Eagle, just scoops up his cards. When you miss that many land drops against Sam Black's board development there, not really a big surprise to see cards getting scooped up there.
Yeah, Pascal's deck is certainly interesting. He's running that 3-color deck. Sam has, I think, 3 Renegade maps. He's running all 3, of course. Why? Because why wouldn't you?
We're going to get a chance to see another game going on here while those players are sideboarding. Martin User up against Jeremy Desani, both these players on 7 and 2. And we can see that we've got a couple of different plans going on here on the left of our screen. Martin User on red-white. He's just got the Night Market Guard there, which it can block 2 creatures. It looks like here it's just blocked the big old gremlin there. and red-green for Jeremy Dezani, and he does have Karizev alongside more gremlins, in this case the salivating kind.
Yeah, out of cards in his hand. It looked like Martin was about to pick up his cards and concede, but Jeremy's out of cards, and like, his board is not looking that impressive. Yeah, there we go. Glinstleaf Artisan and a Renegade Willsmith.
And the Artisan bringing with it a servo token, so a happy amount of blockers here available for Martin User. Admittedly, red-white most comfortable attacking rather than blocking, so it's be hard to say that he's in great shape here, but at least he has a little bit of a line of defense, and even if it works out that he does succumb in this game, just simply seeing more cards is of some value to him.
Yeah, definitely, and Martin's getting low on cards as well, but this might end up into a good old-fashioned top-decking war.
I mean, one good thing about Karizev in this situation, having Menace, it means that it's going to be able to chip through for little points of damage, and Martin User on 8 can't afford to take too many hits here. Yeah. There comes Ragavan, the legendary monkey that hangs out with Karizev. At least when she's attacking.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, monkey no bothered.
It's a tough spot for Martin here. I mean, surely he's going to drop down to very, very low life total, no matter which way he blocks, just because he's facing 4 attackers, one of them having Menace, and his creatures don't line up that well in this spot.
And the leopard there on screen does have trample, so that's another consideration for Martin User, whose team doesn't have that much toughness to work with.
Yeah, 3/4 on that Aetherstream leopard is the big problem here, because there's just no profitable blocks on it. And plus, it's impossible to chump block because of the trample. And I think Martin User doesn't have that many profitable double blocks either. He can try to trade with the salivating gremlins with the Willsmith, but he doesn't. His other 2 creatures don't really lend themselves to a good double block anyway. So that's a big problem.
Now, User knows that the 1 card in Jeremy Dezani's hand is one that he drew that turn. How much will that change the way that he makes decisions?
I think Martin at this point, he doesn't have that many options. No matter what it is, he just has to try to find a way to survive.
Well, I've just heard that our main match between Sam Black and Pascal Maynard is now underway. We're going to jump back to that one, see if we can see, I'm going to call it a real game between these 2 players. Pascal didn't quite get everything going previously, but this time we see an Unbridled Growth has already been sacrificed by him in order to be able to get that Nanam Renegade. It's +1/+1 counter thanks to Revolt, drawing a card in the process. Renegade map and an Ether Poisoner for Sam Black. He's got that energy. If he chooses to attack in, he can potentially make a 1/1 here, but for now he might want to just sit on that Death Touch.
Yeah, I think Ether Poisoner is a perfect card for his deck. It does so many roles. It's defensive enough that it can just trade with almost any attacker. And then on the other hand, like getting to create a servo, just going to really help out his long-term plan. Ooh, and offering up the trade, and Sam is not biting.
I mean, I guess that green decks in principle do have bigger creatures than Nanam Renegade, though so far we've not seen them from Pascal Maynard.
And that's the Glinstleaf Siphoner, one of my favorite cards in the set.
Yeah, this one I think is something that we're going to see a fair amount in Constructed at the Pro Tour. 2/1 Menace, already a nice body, but then look at all these extra abilities. Whenever it comes into play or attacks, you get an energy. At the beginning of your upkeep, you can pay 2 energy to draw a card and lose a life. Drawing cards, one of the best things you can be doing in Magic.
Yeah, tell me about it. If I could draw 3 cards with every deck I have, I would be doing so.
So Sam gets the attack in there and does get a servo out of the deal and follows up with 2 different implements there, both on color for him, Implement of Malice and Implement of Temperance, I think it is.
Improvement, I think, is the white one, but it doesn't matter. I think as we see Pascal attack with both of his creatures into that servo, I think the interesting thing about seeing this deck, and even yesterday, is like how much the implements are rated by pros. I thought like people were really down on them, thought like they would be almost wildly unplayable. I think we've seen all the implements being played throughout yesterday, like in all colors.
Seth Manfield was actually doing something kind of similar to Sam Black yesterday, playing both of the implements that we see him play now. And again, just being able to reliably trigger a Revolt if you have the payoff cards is fantastic.
Yeah, exactly, and it helped with so many things at once that I think this is the way you should go around building white-black decks. It's not an aggro. It's not good. Shouldn't be around aggro. It should be around these kinds of small synergies because it seems like Revolt is really easy to trigger, and you have some powerful stuff that you can do.
Morphous Squad was the play there for Pascal Maynard, bringing along a servo with it thanks to Fabricate. It looks like Sam Black has picked up a Snare Thopter here, but he has something bigger to play, and that is a Fen Hauler accelerated out by a couple of implements and that Renegade map. The map didn't need to fetch a land in order
No,
to
this is great.
produce mana.
I'm loving it. And Fenhole is actually not a very high pickup for a lot of the other decks. So I mean, you can probably get a fair few number of those if you really want. And yeah, there we go. 5/5 can be blocked by artifact creatures.
The cool thing about a lot of the improvised cards, if you have the appropriate enablers for them, is that it doesn't take very many artifacts in play for them to look very efficiently costed indeed. Obviously 7 for a 5/5, not great, but 6 or 5?
Yeah, sure, and with a good ability as well. The main thing I'm seeing here is the fact that look at how good those artifacts are in play. Renegade map, you can pinch it and get a land later on, so it has some inherent value in itself as well. And so do the two implements, like True Life or discard a card. It doesn't seem like much, but just enabling the improvise or revolt, it just does so much.
And Renegade map and the implements, they don't cost very much to get into play, so it's not as if the turns that you're casting them are turns that you might otherwise have been doing a whole lot of work.
Yeah. So Pascal plays Ether Poisoner and a Die Young so that he can get rid of the Fenhauler, and he's doing that because he wants to start swinging with everything.
And of course, with that swing, gets back up to 2 energy. Does mean that potentially he's going to be able to draw a card at the start of next turn.
Yeah, people tend to forget, but the Siphon actually has Menace, which is pretty annoying here on this board because it would force Sam to have forced to double block and lose both creatures. And look at that. That's what I call value.
Yeah, respects the power of Pascal Maynard looking to draw extra cards. As it stands, Maynard getting a different kind of card advantage there by dealing with 2 threats with his 1 creature.
Yeah, that was a big turn for Pascal Maynard. Found a very good answer right away. And I think this is the important bit for decks like Pascal's. He needs to keep Sam Black on the back foot, because if Sam can safely stall out the board, like he's going to win the long game. I'm sure he has cards for that.
No free win, says Pascal Maynard. Not after the last game. I want to make sure that you have to win a couple in real mode.
So I think Sam has Snare Thopter, Prophetic Prism, and Ninth Bridge Patrol. And none of these cards really line up well against the big board from Pascal. Even the 3/1 Menace and Morphous Squad is very annoying.
Snare Thopter in hand, though. It's a card that's great if you're sort of about evens or a little ahead. You can deal a lot of damage with it. But right here, it's not really the answer that he's looking for, I wouldn't imagine. Cashes in Implement of Improvement. Gains a couple of life, draws a card.
No, land is fine, but I don't think that's what he was looking for. I think he's going to be forced to play the Snare Thopter on defense, and he's going to try to trade with the Narnum Renegade if he gets the chance, and hoping he'll draw something in the next turn.
At least finding a land there off the implement meant that activating the implement was kind of free.
Yeah, pretty much. Now you could have always gotten land with the Renegade map as well, but I assume he would like to hold on to that for some Revolt shenanigans, or if he manages to draw one of the green cards he's playing. Actually, I have to look what it is because I want to know. Okay, he's playing Lifecraft Awakening. That's his splash.
It's a pretty good splash, that one.
Yeah, I mean, especially if he runs a lot of cheap artifacts, just being able to make a really big creature out of any random artifact is pretty sweet. This card's very underrated, I feel.
Yeah, you need a lot of artifacts to make it work, but if you have a lot of artifacts, it's kind of the green fireball. Big swings coming in here from Pascal Maynard, and for now, Sam Black contenting himself to kill off 1 servo. Unfortunately, another servo coming to replace it soon enough.
Yeah, and an Aetherstream Leopard as well.
Aetherstream Leopard, not the friend of this black-white deck. Trample, a big issue for a deck that's looking to kind of do value blocking, and spending energy to give it +2 power, kind of a big deal.
Yeah. So Sam's digging for something.
He does get to make Pascal discard a card, but that's not really the important bit right now.
No, after drawing his card, yeah, he's just going to scoop it up. He'd like to get the extra information from Pascal by having him discard a card. He will know about the mobile garrison, which might be useful. But yeah, 1-1. Gonna gain 3. Sweet. I like it that the two decks are entirely different. Like Sam's like dirtling around, 3-color special improvise stuff, and Pascal, it just seems like no nonsense, like green black, play your dudes, keep swinging.
Yeah, I think green-black is a deck that many of us kind of felt like we knew about. It's not necessarily trying to do anything super unusual or clever, but the things that it does very well. I think there's a lot more support for +1/+1 counter strategies now than there was in just Kaladesh, and certainly very potent. But now we get a chance to see a little bit more of red-white versus red-green. Jeremy Dzani currently just on 2 lands to Martin User's 4, but with that Servant of the Conduit in play, he's not quite as behind on mana as it may first appear.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Jeremy has some sort of trick in his hand. Martin, that Renegade Willsmith is great, but I would hope that Martin has at least something here, something extra here to keep on pushing damage. As we already see a shock trade with Countess Gear's Renegade there. And I think Martin does have an alternative game plan if he needs it. I saw a Destructive Tampering in his hand.
Yeah, at some point that will be able to... I mean, it can destroy an artifact, but I wouldn't surprise me if he's setting things up so that he can get Jeremy Dzani low on life and then make it so that non-flying creatures cannot block. As it stands, between that giant that's just been played there and the Renegade Willsmith, it's comparatively easy for him to make blocking difficult for Jeremy Dzani anyway, but no attacks there. Kind of an interesting line.
I completely get it, especially, red-green decks usually have a low mana curve. I'm pretty sure if Jeremy had something cheap to play, he wouldn't have played it if he had a trick. And it was actually fun to see when Martin passed the turn. Jeremy kind of annoyingly, he had a High Spire Infusion on top of his cards in his hand, and he kind of shuffled his cards around kind of in a way like, oh, you know about it, I have to hide it. But now that Jeremy drew a land, he has a big decision if he wants to develop his board or keep bluffing a removal trick that we actually know that he has.
I mean, that kind of the difference with really high-level play, once players are able to sniff out tricks and play around them a little bit. Perhaps not the way that you would see it go down at your local F&M, but I mean, that's the difference when you're at a GP Day 2. Outland bore the play for Jeremy Dzani, the 4/4 for 4 that cannot be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less.
No, I think this is a good spot, though, for Martin. I think if I was Martin, I would just attack with everything and use the Renegade Willsmith's ability to have the Outland board not being able to block. But then Jeremy will be forced to trade, but still take 7 damage, and Martin can then play the Well-Fast Monitor that he has in his hand, go up to 10 total power and play, and have Destructive Tampering to win on the following turn just by having all creatures without flying not be able to block.
The 1-2 punch gets the first hit in, sends Jeremy Dzani to 10, and it's just a matter of cleaning up now. But what does Dzani have to say all about that? Draws to the turn, and this is Jeremy Dzani's trademark pose, really. The sort of slightly worried, furrowed brow as he draws. I've seen it enough times now that I'm not always buying it, but we know that in this case he is in a little bit of trouble. Yeah,
it's a very interesting spot because he can prevent himself from dying. I think he has Appetite for the Unnatural, which he can use to kill the Well-Fast Monitor, gate some life. But now that he's going to play the Gearpro Guide, he's going to be just dead. He's hiding the fact that he actually has a trick up his sleeve. He has the 1 energy and the Servant of the Conduit. I think I saw a Precise Strike in his hand. It would be a good trick if Martin User just didn't have the Destructive Tampering, which is, just saying, like, you can't block with any of your creatures, and I have 10 power on the board. Do you have a shock, maybe? No shock.
All right, Martin User squares things up at 1-1. Both of our matches thus far in the feature match area going to a final game, and now we see Pascal Maynard and Sam Black just finishing their shuffling up as they go on to the decider. Based on how we've seen things in the first couple of games, who do you have with the edge here in this final conflict?
I think I really like Sam's deck. I really think it's cool. As you saw that sometimes it can just fall flat on its face when your cards don't align in the right way. I'm thinking that if he's on the play, like Pascal Maynard might have a trouble like keeping up the tempo against Sam's defensive deck, but mulligans can change that very fast.
Yeah, both players taking a mulligan here. Let's take a look at the overall mana bases of these decks. It looks to me like Pascal Maynard has been pretty aggressive with his mana base here. just the 15 lands, 8 swamp, 7 forest. Tell us why that might be in this kind of format, because that's a very unusual land count in Limited in general, right?
15? That's very low. Can you guess how many lands Sam Black's running?
I mean, he's got a bunch of Renegade maps and Improvise. 15, 16?
14.
14 lands.
Sam Black's running 14 lands. I mean, he does have a triple Renegade map. I mean, that really helps, and some of the other stuff. What his deck is focused around is the hidden stockpile that we've seen in game 1. He actually has 2 of those. That's a great way to build your deck around, especially if you get both in play at the same time. And every time you trigger Revolt, you get 2 servos, and once you get to a certain point, you can sack 1 servo, scry, and you get 2 more at the end of your turn, which is sweet.
Yeah, it's not going to take too long for that to overtake a game, but 14 land is pretty much low watermark for a number of lands that I've seen played in any Limited deck.
Yeah, man, and he's playing control deck. You know, this is not an aggro deck where like his cheapest card is his most expensive card is like 4 mana. No, this is basically like a nice control deck with 14 lands. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I love his deck's really cool.
Based on the games that we've seen thus far, the way that things have played out, I would never have guessed that it was that few.
Right? Yeah, but he's playing 3 implements altogether. 2 of the white ones, which are cheap to play and cheap to activate as well. So in this regard, I think it kind of makes sense. But he also has a nice top end in that Fen Hauler, and I saw another rare that I think he has in his hand, the Herald of Anguish.
Well, if you're looking to improvise, that's pretty much the gold standard. Ether Poisoner coming down on turn 2 for Sam Black, though Sam notably no 1-drop.
Ooh, Glintleaf Siphoner, a good answer.
It's all about the 2 mana black creatures that produce energy, it turns out.
Yep.
There's Herald of Anguish. One of the most powerful things that you can do with Improvise in the entire set.
Yeah, it's already 7 mana 5/5 flyer, wouldn't be that bad. It has 2 very good abilities, or rather 2 more good abilities tacked onto it, and it can really decimate the board, especially if you have like all those implements and servos and whatnot.
Oh, sacrificing an implement to its ability, you still get to draw the card because it triggers off the implement going to the graveyard. Works out very nicely indeed.
Yeah.
Pascal Maynard getting his hits in here, gets up to 2 energy, so he will potentially be able to draw a card, get out of that mulligan. But does he have a 3rd land here?
It doesn't seem that way, and I think Pascal now, in his mind, he might be just thinking like, oh, please, God, at least let me get to my upkeep so I can draw an extra card with my Siphoner. Because I think he had Unbridled Growth, and look at that. Dai Young getting taking care of the Poisoner.
Gets him an extra energy as well, only needing to use one of the energy produced there to get in. Servo hitting Pascal Maynard once more, and Pascal very quickly says, I'm going to spend 2 energy, I want to draw a card.
Yeah, and then
please let me draw more cards.
Yeah, and that when he attacks, he gets more energy, which means he gets more good. Now he has the Forest as well. I think he can play Aetherstream Leopard. He also has Unbridled Growth if he feels he needs double green, because we don't really see all the cards in his hand. I think I saw a Mobile Garrison as well. And Sam Black has mana problems of his own. He has 4 lands, but he doesn't have any planes, and stuck with a Kambal in his hand.
Those unmatched swamps not doing him proud. Aetherstream Leopard coming along, giving him an additional energy.
Ooh, still no white source. And even if he would draw a Renegade map, I mean, at least a Subtle Strike to deal with the Siphoner, but he's falling behind. The Leopard can start hitting for a lot of damage very soon.
Yeah, 3 energy means that if Pascal Maynard wants, it can be a 4/3 trampler for the foreseeable future, at least on a sax.
Yeah. The problem with Sam's Renegade map plan is the fact that the Renegade maps come into play tapped. So even if he plays one, he won't be able to do anything on that turn anyway. It's a big problem, and even though he has the server for improvised shenanigans, he just doesn't have enough.
Yeah, Renegade map. It is kind of the glue that's holding his deck together, but right now his deck's falling apart a little bit without it.
Pascal drew out of his mana troubles. Has a Malphite squad. Another Menace creature for 2 Menace.
Yeah, it's not going to take too many hits from that to end the game. Sam Black on just 12 life now. That number 23 next to Sam Black's name indicates that he's currently ranked 23rd in the world. Casts a Snare Thopter and has a decision here. Does he want to just get stuck in and try and keep this race at least vaguely alive? The double block doesn't look too exciting. He would still lose both Snarethopter and Servo if he double blocked the menacing Morphis squad. Alternatively, I suppose that Snarethopter could trade with a Leopard.
Yeah, it's never good if you play a Snarethopter and you don't attack. It's usually a sign that you're losing. So I'm a bit worried for Sam here.
Yeah, of all of the words on that Snarethopter, the flying and the haste not looking likely to be relevant here, and at that point it's not a particularly good deal.
Yeah, and actually menace is a very good keyword here. Having a 4-2 as well would enable Pascal to kill both the blockers if Sam decided to double block there. So Sam just goes for the Leopard here, still taking a huge chunk. And the problem was, even if Sam kept both artifacts and drew a land for the Herald of Anguish, improvised forces you to tap down your creatures, so you don't have them up for blocking. That's what makes menace that much better, especially in this sort of matchup.
Yeah, Pascal just looking to put the finishing touch on here. Another Ether Stream Leopard and indeed a Renegade map to taunt Sam Black, who's not quite able to find the lands that he needs.
Yeah, just a hidden stockpile.
And there's the handshake. Pascal Maynard, after a rough game one, beset by mana issues, sees the mana issues on the other side of the table. A little shake of the head there from Sam Black. Pascal Maynard advancing to 8-2.
Yeah, I did like Sam's okay, that was very quick.
Had some synchronized magic there. We'll see if we can find out exactly who won between Martin User and Jeremy Desani. Looks like it was the Frenchman that took it down. So red-green defeating red-white and black-green defeating black-white. Are we starting to see something about green here in this format?
But green's good. I really like green. Myself, I think it's quite good in this draft format, and it just matches up well. Like the creatures the green has are gigantic, and trample is a very good keyword, and it just seems like it's very balanced in power level and in the game plans that the green decks are trying to do, just beat your face in.
Well, the good news, guys, is that even though that is the end of our live matches, we will have a little bit more magic to bring you in a little bit of time. But before that, what we're going to have is a few messages. But before we even look at them, Matej, in terms of what you were expecting to see of the differences between the draft format and the sealed format, we normally talk about draft being a little bit faster. Do you think that that's been borne out thus far?
I would say that draft is a little bit faster. I would have loved to see more of this match with Martin User and Jeremy Desani, because it seemed like both players had very aggressive decks. As you can see, Martin User just lost, but he's still sitting there and going through his deck. He wants to get the opening hands in. It's really fun to see, because that's typical Martin. But yeah, overall what I want to say is I think the aggressive decks are in really good shape if they come together. If you have a good curve and you manage to go well, it's very good. But I think the main difference in sealed and draft is land counts. We've seen in the match before, one player was playing 14 lands, the other one was playing 15 lands. These sorts of aggressive decks that we saw from Martin and Jeremy, I can't imagine that they're running more than 16 lands, and that really depends on what else they have. I could easily see them running 15 as well.
Well, we've just heard that we are going to get some more live magic for you. There was an absolutely stacked table during the draft portion, which had just a murderer's row of talent. It was, we had Thomas Hendricks, Kelvin Chu, Alexander Hain, Craig Wesco, Niels Norlander, and Li Shiqian all at the same table. And we're going to get a chance to see the deciding game between Li Shiqian on the left of our screen and Thomas Hendricks on the right. These players also at 7-2, so they're kind of in a spot where they really need to be winning every round if they want to be in contention to make top 8 here in Prague. But
even then, remember there's 629 players in day 2.
Out of 2005 from yesterday.
Yes, we don't know if all of them showed up, but that's how it basically worked out. And even then, if I look at the number of people on 7-2, I think it's around 260, 254, which is so many.
Yeah, basically the players that are on 7-2, even if they had a really good set of tiebreakers from day one, they have to assume that if they want to make top 8, they have to win every match. And even then, they need to keep their fingers crossed.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, with so many players, if you're going into if you want to be in top 8 contention with a record of 13 wins and 2 losses, you at least need to pray that you have good tiebreakers. because it's going to be the most important thing. And starting off 7-2, it just naturally means that you're in very rough shape. But it's kind of funny how it turned out in the end, because of how many players there are at 7-2. The one of the draft tables that we saw Martin Yuza and Jeremy Dizani from, like the players around him, there was also Javier Dominguez at their table, and Brad Nelson wasn't far off, even though he had one extra point compared to yesterday. Simon Nielsen also thereabouts. So like the 7-2 top tables were all very stacked, and these two players also come from that table.
And one thing that I'm taking from what we're talking about here, I'm hearing a lot of big names, and that's not just because there's a lot of pros here in preparation for the Pro Tour. I'm hearing that the cream's kind of rising to the top. There are a lot of players that are very talented who are able to flex those muscles in this limited format. Definitely a skill tester.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's the Pro Tour next week, and this is a great opportunity to test out your theory, test out what you've been preparing for, if it's true or not, in a competitive environment. I love these limited GPs before Pro Tours, just because you can really get a good hang of what other players are thinking. And it's not just when you play your matches of your own, but it's also when you look at players from other playtesting teams while they play, because you can get an idea of what they prioritize in drafting, in playing, which archetypes work for them. And just overall, I think it's well worth coming here to test it out. Even though we know that Team Puzzle Quest, also known as the Pantheon, they're already in Dublin. They're preparing, in their 8 strong, at least, draft pods. I'm pretty sure you can get some good practice in as well.
Speaking of archetypes that you mentioned earlier on, worth noting, I've just been having a look at the deck lists for Li Shiqian and Thomas Hendricks. We talked about the low land counts that were going on here. One notable thing for the archetypes that we're going to see in this match, or in this game for the deciding game of the match, is these are both 17 land decks. We're a little bit more traditional in terms of the amount of lands that are being played.
Weird.
They're also color combinations that we've not yet had in the feature match area today. Working our way through the different draft archetypes, trying to show you as many different ways of approaching this Aether Revolt limited format as we can.
I love Thomas's draft deck already. He has a double Trophy Mage, and he has the Aether Sphere Harvester. So I think like almost every game that he has, he's going to turn out into that. He's going to be able to play that Harvester.
Lovely stuff.
If he gets to 3 lands, that's pretty sweet. One of the things I noticed also, as we see the players start off, is that players usually have a lot of cards from Aether Revolt, and then very few from Kaladesh that they're about to play, which is quite strange. But like Thomas Hendricks plays only 4 or 5 cards from Kaladesh. Let's see if we see a Trophy Mage. Oh, it looks like he also has a Wolf's Monitor to the top. Yeah, there it is. Ooh, shiny.
Yeah, Worldfast. That is a Worldfast monitor. It looks kind of green under our camera light, but trust us, it is an artifact, and you can pay red mana to give the 3/2 Menace, which will mean that it can get past this Herald of the Fair if Thomas Hendricks chooses to spend the mana to do so.
It just goes for shock immediately. Herald of the Fair, not a very impressive creature. I actually saw Li Shiqian build his deck. His deck it looked okay. He had some good cards, but it's green-white, and if you don't have the really good green-white kind of deck, it's going to be very hard, just because this type of deck doesn't interact that much.
So there was a Hinterland Drake from Thomas Hendricks, Bristling Hydra from Li Shiqian. That's certainly a high power level card.
Yeah, and, I think we're going to see what I mentioned. After Thomas can swing in for 5 here, like giving the Wolf has Monitor Menace. Ooh, interesting. So he attacks actually the Wolf has Monitor into the Hydra. So he probably has something up his sleeve.
Well, it looks like Li Shiqian may have missed the energy for his Hydra. Can't quite see it off the bottom of the screen.
Oh, Precise Strike, even better.
Yeah, even with the energy, that was not going to do too much. Worldfast Monitor taking down the rare, and there's still enough mana left for Trophy Mage. So this, when it comes into play, lets you search for a 3-cost artifact, and, well, hard to argue with that one.
How convenient. He also has the Welfare Monitor as his other 3 casting cost artifact, so he can always find some value. And it's a Sky Squirrel Harrier from Li Shiqian trying to hold off the ground.
I mean, 3/4 in general holds off pretty much everything that Thomas Hendricks has going on. It's a nice set of power and toughness. And
definitely. I think this card's value went a little bit up, in my books at least. And I have liked it before. 3/4 flying is just solid numbers overall.
but the menace of that, meaning that there's more attacks coming in, and here is the Harvester. Crew 1 for this 3-5 flyer, and with the ability to spend energy to gain lifelink, it's potentially a bit of a problem for a lot of decks. Riparian Tiger coming along, and yeah, it looks like Li Shiqian had missed the energy off his Bristling Hydra. It's not that great when it's just a 4-3.
Yeah, and Li Shiqian must be kicking himself for getting. It's actually a card from Kaladesh, card he should know. He must be playing under a bit of pressure here. At 7-2, I'm not surprised. Okay, another Hinterland Drake. Like, Li Shiqian stopped the onslaught pretty successfully here. If he has some more big creatures to play to the board, he can even start attacking, I feel.
Lands he definitely does have.
Yeah, I think he has an impeccable timing in his hand, which is really good. Can take care of that Velfast Monitor if he decides to.
Starts off with the Druid of the Cowl, the latest iteration of Llanowar Elves, I suppose.
Well,
Strictly better than Wirewood Elf.
yes.
Extra point of toughness.
Yeah, I really love those card obsolescence charts, like where someone does after every set is released, like you see like which card is strictly better than a different one. So yeah.
Ice Over, another one that came out of Aether Revolt.
Yeah.
That's a strict improvement. But here we see the Harvester is getting through by the Trophy Mage that fetched it.
Yeah, it's now it's getting some goggles. I don't really know how that works from a flavor judge perspective. How a harvester can pick up some goggles.
I like to imagine that it's in an A-team, let's convert the van kind of way.
Okay, I can get behind that. So it's a 4/7 flyer. So I think this means that Lee will block and then try to finish it off with the impeccable timing. But it's also not great news because he's going to. This would mean that he would lose his flyer. That would mean that Thomas Hendricks' Hinterland Drakes would finally be free to start bashing in for 4 turn. So I think Lee just takes it this turn, and he's going to be hoping that he's going to draw some other good cards.
Now it looks like Hendricks didn't use the energy there to gain lifelink. This is something that I've played a little bit with Aethersphere Harvester. Sorry. What is the sort of the best time to gain life on it? I mean, when you're at 20, is it better to just save the energy just in case for other things?
I think it really depends on what else is in his deck, and I could see him trying to save up the energy just because he has some other effects to use it with. I do spy a World Virtuoso in his deck, and he has some other ways to get the energy, but he actually did use it here, and he's just going to get the lifelink as soon as he can. Which I can respect. I think it's completely fine. But sometimes you don't really need to. But really, it depends how many energy generators you have in your deck and how many energy sinks you have as well.
But Hendricks firmly in the lead here. Lots of different ways of trying to figure out who's winning a game of Magic. You can either look at the life totals, you can look at cards in hand, you can look at the amount of stuff they have on the battlefield. I would say that by all of those metrics, Thomas Hendricks doing just fine.
And Li Shiqian is.
He's got a couple more cards in hand.
Yeah.
But
like one of them is land, one of them is an impeccable timing. Okay, so now he's impeccable timing and something else as well. I think he has 3 cards total, which must be scaring Thomas Hendricks. But you could see already the previous combat phase that Lee was thinking about blocking. So I think Thomas knows that there's something going on in Li Shiqian's hand, and now he's going to pull the trigger.
Hendricks, of course, passes initially because he's winning that fight.
Okay, he has built to last as well. So that's going to make it into a 5-6. Yeah, Lee is just like, yeah, pass. And then at the end of combat, he can still play the impeccable timing. This is very interesting interaction here. Yeah, gets rid of the Harvester finally.
Now talk us through the way that this impeccable timing was impeccably
Yeah.
timed, because it's not necessarily obvious to...
No, of course. So how it works, it says deal 3 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. The thing is, like, when is a creature considered attacking or blocking? And actually, during combat, you can play it before, after attackers are declared, but before blockers are declared. You can also play it after blockers are declared, but you also have a window. There's no more damage on the stack, but there's still, after damage is dealt, there's still a step in the combat phase where you can play the impeccable time because the creature is considered attacking or blocking still at that point. It rarely comes up, but it's a nice way to make sure that Li Shiqian will not get blown out by a trick on Thomas's side, because damage has already been dealt, but he's then dealing the final blow to the Ethersphere Harvester.
Got it. So basically, if Hendrix had something like Built to Smash,
Yes.
he wouldn't suddenly end up taking more damage.
Yeah, he could have still played it, yes,
Yeah.
but his Ethersphere Harvester, it would happen already after damage was dealt, so there was no more shenanigans going on with that. And there's, big monstrous onslaught taking care of the hinterland dregs. Li Shiqian just found a way out of this situation. I love it.
Yeah, big attack from Riparian Tiger, got pumped up a little bit, and then was able to be the instigator of that monstrous exchange.
Yeah, monstrous onslaught taking care of 2 creatures at once. That's the best spot where you want to be. And I actually really like this interaction of Riparian Tiger and then the onslaught, because even though it's a 5-mana 4 for 1 attacks, it can be a 6/6. So then you can get to deal more damage with it.
So Thomas Hendrix, a fairly unimpressive looking board all of a sudden.
Yeah, now he has to give menace to the Wealthfest Monitor, which is only a 4/4. If he attacks with it, I imagine Li Shiqian will double block. Will lose his Sky Swirl Harrier potentially. Yep. There we go. So there's the trade. I think Thomas drew another trophy mage, but I don't think he has another 3 casting cost artifact in his deck. I'll have a quick look. No, he does not. Or does he? He was going to look through, but I don't think he does. Unless he board... No, I don't think he does. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, has a look, has a shuffle, and the trophy mage, let's just do a quick creature type check. Is it an artificer? There's some of them that are a little bit surprising. This one is a human wizard.
Wizard.
Even though it fetches an artifact, it is not an artificer.
Wizard. There are wizards on Kaladesh?
Yeah, there's
I
one.
thought there's like artificers, pilots.
I'm pretty sure Baral is also a wizard. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, but Baral is a proper wizard. Like, I mean, he influences instant sorceries, and that's what you expect from wizards, right?
That's fair. I will allow that.
Not artifacts. But okay, that's fair enough.
Hidden Herbalists, they're the play for Li Shiqian. No revolt, so just a 2/2 for 2. Not particularly troubled.
Ooh,
Thomas Hendrix gets us hit in with...
There we go.
Now there's well a Virtuoso. We don't think that there's too much in the way of energy generation in Thomas Hendrix' deck, but even just as a creature that brings another creature...
Yeah, it's great. And you know what Thomas I think he has in his hand? I think he has Destructive Tampering. Which, again, we saw Martin Yuza put it to good effect, and he's good friends with Thomas, and I'm not sure, I don't think they need to speak about the qualities of Destructive Tampering to add them to their decks. And so if Li Shiqian doesn't play a flyer here, Thomas Hendrix can just make sure that he'll be able to finish off this game, as Li Shiqian is playing a huge rich scale Tusker here.
Yeah, thankfully that Riparian Tiger already iced over, but yeah, the rest of the ground force now looking potent. Thomas Hendrix, though, may have the trump if he does indeed hold that.
Yeah, I think I saw it. He has one in his deck. He had one more in his sideboard. So let's see if Thomas Hendrix can snatch this game off. He was dominating for much of it, but then he suddenly lost most of his board as he creates a top turn. But does he have the Destructive Tampering to finish off this game? He does. Boom. Yeah, Li Shiqian's like, I don't even care which mode you choose. I know exactly what is going on, and Thomas Hendrix takes it.
Thomas Hendrix advancing to 8-2. Li Shiqian dropping to 7-3 here in Prague. That's the end of our live matches here from round 10 of GP Prague. We'll be back with some time walk matches soon enough, but first, these messages. Hello and welcome back to this round 10 of Grand Prix Prague, and we do have one extra game to show you. We're just going to show you the deciding game here between Grzegorz Kowalski and Daniel Berezin. Kowalski, we got a chance to see his draft earlier on a red-black aggro deck that has some highlights, but it's kind of going to need to draw its good cards all together, and a mulligan to 5 for Kowalski, potentially a bit of a problem here.
I think he only had one land, but he's going to scry. He has a Welder Automaton. I think that he kept the Swamp on the top, which might enable him to do something in his hand. Daniel Berezin actually is the only player that is undefeated, but is not drafting in pod number 1, just because of that there were 9 of them, and he had a draw, so he's not quite going to be there. But it's actually a good spot to be in, regardless. Undefeated after day 1 of the GP. I mean, everyone
hard to
will
argue
take
with that.
Yeah.
Can spot a Renegade Freighter in hand for Berezin. He's going to have to find all 3 lands to be able to cast it. Cracks the Renegade map in order to get his second here, and shows that he's a black-white deck at least.
At least, yeah. He might have something more. Usually decks with Renegade maps have some of those, but sometimes Renegade map is just a good way to trigger Revolt and essentially have it as a sort of free card in your deck.
Yeah, if it takes the spot of a land, then it's not at too great a cost.
He has a Battle at the Bridge in his hand, and look at that. He's dirtling around Prophetic Prison.
That's another way of hitting your land drops, and indeed hitting your colors, of course.
Yeah.
Skyskiff, there is another land for Grzegorz Kowalski, so we should have a real game here. Immediately gets to crew up his Skyskiff, beats him for 2.
Yeah, Ali Strangle, also a creature that can decently attack on the following turn as well, just because it has menace.
Yeah, 2/3 menace for 3, not the most exciting of rates, but not the worst. We do see 3 different colors from Daniel Berezin. Let's see what his first creature of the game might be.
Yeah, I'm curious myself what he's going to, and he's thinking it's going to be Caught in the Brights.
Yeah, no need to worry about creatures just yet. Caught in the Brights. The dark side of this one is it does still let you crew vehicles.
Yeah, but I mean, you said he has a Renegade Freighter in his hand, so he might find a way to get the creature to exile. And there we see another attack with the Skyskiff.
Yeah, Berezin, I believe he has taken a few points of damage here. He should be on 16, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
There we go. And yeah, considering that Kowalski is the one that's on the mulligan here, his draw looks great. The dark side of this, I suppose, is that he's very, very quickly going to be out of cards in hand, whereas Berezin with pretty much a full grip here.
Yeah.
Plays the Freighter, doesn't have a creature yet.
No, it doesn't need it. He could have played the Freighter and also used the Battle of the Bridge. At the Bridge? Battle at the Bridge. Yeah, he can kill. He could have killed the Welder Automaton. But he's just going to play it slow and try to gain more life later on. Ooh, he might be regretting that, though, as an Iron League seed comes into play. There's going to be a lot of damage here, all of a sudden.
7 points coming through here. So just 9 points of life to work with now for Berezin.
Yeah, I think he drew a Fatal Push, I think. He still also has the Battle of the Bridge. There's a couple of other decent creatures. The Girapur Osprey, not the greatest, but I think I also saw an Aeronaut Admiral. He went for kind of like the slow game and trying to be the control deck, but the cards in his hand really don't lend themselves to do that.
Yeah, after the kind of internal fist pump when you see your opponent mulliganing to 5, he's actually found himself up against a much stiffer offense than he might reasonably have expected.
He's swinging. Yeah, so he cruises the Renegade Fair with the Ali Strength that he just played, and then uses that to get the Caught in the Brights, get to exile that creature, and has that Fatal Push I talked about to kill off that Welder Automaton. And now Kowalski left just with an Iron League steed.
Yeah, and this is where the mulligan's really going to hurt. It's not necessarily always turn 2 or 3 where you miss the land drop. It's later on when you find yourself running out of cards in hand. Right now, though, just getting there. Gifted Etherborn coming along. Vampire Nightwalk, if you will. Crewing up the Skyskiff, getting to the air all too briefly.
Yeah.
Berezin on just 4 life.
This game's getting close.
If he does have Battle at the Bridge, that is a source of a little bit of life gain here.
Yeah, but even then, he doesn't have too many good blocks with his creatures. He might be forced actually to trade off his Renegade Freighter, but he would love to use that to improvise to gain some extra life. So Bear's in a little bit of a tough shape, but at least he drew a land, so he's going to be able to cast that Battle of the Bridge for a lot. It's going to be at least 4 mana plus 1 artifact, so maybe -5/-5, and gain 5 life. Still wouldn't mean he's out of the woods just yet.
I mean, anytime that you've got that many more cards in hand than your opponent, to me it becomes about stabilization, because you ought to win if the game goes longer.
Yeah. His plan now is, I think, should be play Battle of the Bridge, kill one of the creatures, and then hopefully trade with the other one if Kowalski decides to attack. If not, just take 2 with the Skyskiff, and next to play the Aeronaut Admiral, so that he could trade off the Admiral for the Skyskiff.
So one decision that Better is then left with here is, if I'm killing a creature, which one's it to be?
Oh, that's the tough part. He's gonna do exactly what I described here. Kill the Gifted Aetherborn. Battle of the Bridge is a fantastic card to have.
Yeah, killing a creature, gaining life, and the improvise on it is not integral to the card, but very often it does mean that you're gaining an extra point or 2 of life and potentially killing something that you might otherwise struggle with.
Yeah, definitely. It can help you out, especially in the first couple of turns, where you usually need to have a lot of mana to make Battle of the Bridge that effective. But thanks to improvise, you can actually be able to cast it for larger amounts earlier in the game, which can be a big swing.
So Kowalski now, just that Iron League Steed alongside Skyskiff. Skyskiff has done some work in this game.
Yeah, and remember when we looked at in the draft, he refused to take the second Skyskiff for his deck. And I think maybe after this match, he might be thinking, yeah, maybe I should have taken the second one as well. It looked to be pretty good.
So Kowalski deep in the tank now. Even though there are a variety of Zs in that name, it is pronounced Gregor, pretty much, yeah? Ish.
I wouldn't be so sure about it. I think maybe he just told you that to not make you feel that bad.
He actually told me Greg, which is even easier.
Oh yeah, Greg's better. George, you can also do George.
We're just playing anagrams now. This is definitely the most Scrabble-worthy spelling of the name.
I would imagine, I don't speak Polish, but a language pretty good. I was thinking something along the lines of Grzegorz, something like that.
But it looks like Berezin has figured out what he wants to be doing for the turn now. The pump fake on the lands.
I mean, there's plenty of cards. The Giripur Osprey, the Aeronaut Admiral. Maybe something else, okay.
The Osprey jumping in a train.
He's just so aggressive. Look at that.
Get busy living or get busy dying.
He just doesn't care. Now he has the Renegade Wheelsmith. At least that can trade off with the Iron League Steed, and it kind of makes sense that this is how you want to get aggressive, because the Wheelsmith is really good when you're attacking. So Berezin might be actually think that unless he loses here, that he can win on the following turn.
Yeah, this gives Kowalski a much tougher set of decisions. It would not surprise me if there's a little moment with Kowalski in the tank here in terms of what he wants to do.
Yeah, depends on what he drew for the turn. I have a huge influence.
Well, we can see that 2 out of 3 of the cards in hand for Kowalski are just lands, and I believe that the last one is a precise strike.
I think so too. I was thinking for a long time that it was the Salivating Gremlins, but he would have played that a long time ago. So I also think it's that precise strike. It just passes the turn. Wow. Bad news. I mean, we have to remember Kowalski mulliganed to 5 on the play as well.
He fought the good fight. There was definitely a time in this game where it looked like Kowalski was going to be able to pull through on this, but just the sheer lack of quantity of cards proving to be his downfall here. Caught in the bright on Iron League Steed. its parting shot, albeit it can jump in a sky skiff, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely will.
But with Renegade Will Smith to be able to stop one creature from being able to block.
It actually doesn't work because when he attacks with the Renegade Will Smith, they both trigger at the same time. But for Renegade Will Smith, you have to choose a target right away.
And at that point, it's not a creature.
It's not a creature yet, and he after the triggers on the stack from the Renegade Will Smith, he can animate this sky skiff and still block with it. Oh, we'll see if the players can figure this out themselves.
I mean, even just between the trample and the flying and the menace and so on going on for Berezin, it's causing a few problems.
Yeah. Just making sure, like, if you have enchantment removal, that Iron Link stick also can't even block. And he's leaving the flyer back, so he is scared of something. The Renegade Will Smith jumped into the train, which is now a 5/4 trample, and the Alley Strangle has menace. Unfortunately for Berezin, it's actually not attacking for lethal here. It's only an attack for 7. Yeah, he's also a signal that the Iron League Steed should be exiled because he attacked with Renegade Freighter. And I think Kowalski's saying, yeah, like in response to that, I'll be doing something.
Certainly makes sense.
No, it's actually we were talking about how Berezin actually decided too late to use that ability.
So Karizev, the pickup there for Gregor Kowalski.
A little bit too late. Yeah, unfortunate for Kowalski here, the gold pro from Poland. He will play the Karizev, but I think this game is all but over. Berezin should just attack with everything and finish off the game. But of course, he has to play around some cards that might be very of a shock or something similar. But I think he's firmly in control here. And there's an error to Unknown Admiral, which will also give the Renegade Freighter flying.
Yes, and now it's a straightforward case of going, I'm going to have 5 power of flying, trampling attackers. I'm going to make it so that you have fewer blockers, not that you had that many to begin with.
Yeah, go with the Osprey as well. There we go. Just swing with the team. Yeah, and Renegade Will Smith. Yeah, targeting the Karizev, and he might have been signaling for the Colin Brights. There's the handshake.
So Daniel Berezin still undefeated,
yeah.
9-0-1, setting the pace. That's the last of our rounds here before we get to round 10. We will have round 11 for you soon enough, but first, these messages.